I get asked constantly about the big three debates in video creation: resolution, frame rates, and bit rates, and exactly how they all fit together. It can feel like a tangled mess of jargon, so I want to break down these concepts into simple, manageable pieces for your workflow. The easiest way to visualize video is to think of it as a series of digital photos stacked and played back in rapid sequence. If you slow down any video, you'll see that each individual frame is basically just a high-quality still image. Video actually relies on the exact same principles as traditional photography, including aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Once you take a few dozen of those photos, put them in order, and add an audio track, you have successfully created a video. Let's start with resolution, which is essentially just the total number of pixels contained within your video frame. Generally speaking, the higher the pixel count, the sharper and more defined your final image will look to the viewer. Think of it like megapixels on a digital camera, where more data points allow for a much higher level of detail in your shot. Resolutions are measured by width and height, and recording at 3840 by 2160 gives you Ultra HD or 4K. Because those numbers are clunky to say, we use labels like SD, HD, and Full HD to distinguish between them quickly. While older standards like standard definition are essentially obsolete, 1080p is still considered a great sweet spot for many online creators. Higher resolutions like 6K or 8K are incredible for commercial work, but for most everyday content, they are often total overkill. Choosing the biggest resolution isn't always the best move because every increase in pixels creates exponentially more data. A 4K frame is roughly 4 times the size of a 1080p frame, which makes your files balloon in size very quickly. This massive file size puts stress on your camera, fills up your SD cards, and makes the editing process much heavier on your computer. Color depth is the next piece of the puzzle that many people often gloss over when they are setting up their cameras. Most cameras shoot in 8-bit color, which provides over 16 million possible color combinations for every single pixel. If you move up to 10-bit or 12-bit, you bump those possibilities into the billions, which is huge for handling shadows and highlights. This higher bit depth is essential if you plan on doing heavy color grading, as it prevents banding in your smooth gradients. For most creators, 8-bit is perfectly fine, and you shouldn't worry about bit depth until you have mastered the basics of lighting and focus. Frame rate is the next variable, which is simply the speed at which your frames are captured and played back to the audience. Filming at 24 frames per second gives you that classic cinematic look that most movies and high-end shows use. High frame rates like 60 or 120 frames per second are perfect for gaming streams or when you want to create slow motion effects. Be careful though, because high frame rates can look hyper-real in a way that feels unnatural for traditional narrative storytelling. Data-wise, frame rate is a multiplier, meaning 120 frames per second uses 5 times the data of 24 frames per second. This is where you have to juggle your hardware limits, like when a camera can only shoot 4K if you lower the frame rate. Bit rate is arguably the most important factor when it comes to compression, because it dictates how much data is preserved per second. Higher bit rates generally lead to better visual quality, but they also result in much larger file sizes that take longer to upload. Codecs are clever engineers that save space by only storing the information that actually changes between frames. If you have a static shot, the camera can save a ton of space. But complex motion requires a much higher bit rate to keep things looking sharp. Always try to keep your frame rate consistent from capture to export to avoid awkward software blending and jittery motion. All this data management is exactly why tools that automate your post-production process are becoming an essential part of the modern workflow. Platforms like Vizard are designed to take the headache out of the process by using AI to identify your best, most viral-worthy moments. Instead of spending hours manually scrubbing through footage, you can have the tool automatically stitch clips into ready-to-post short-form content. It sits in that perfect middle ground between high-end professional suites and basic phone apps that lack real power. The built-in content calendar allows you to schedule and publish clips straight to your social channels without ever leaving the platform. This is incredibly useful if you are managing multiple channels or trying to repurpose your long-form content into dozens of smaller clips. The goal here is simply to reduce the friction between capturing great footage and actually getting it in front of your audience. You still retain full creative control over your shoot settings, but you don't have to be the bottleneck during the editing phase. Ultimately, remember that resolution gives you detail, color depth gives you precision, and frame rate controls the feeling of your motion. Bigger specs always look better in isolation, But real-world constraints like storage and heat mean you need to find the right balance for your project. Master your fundamentals like lighting and framing first, then tweak the technical settings when you really need that extra polish. If you are tired of spending all your time editing long videos into shorts, consider integrating tools like Vizard to automate your workflow. You will save time and likely see better reach across your platforms without having to change the way you actually shoot your content. There is no magic silver bullet, but understanding these building blocks will get you much closer to consistent, high-quality video. So go out and shoot something today, and don't let hours of footage gather dust on your hard drive. Take that raw footage, turn it into bite-sized clips, and start sharing your story with the world effectively. A little bit of strategy combined with the right tools goes a very long way in this industry.